Okay, let's start our great book, The Magic of Thinking Big. Let's take the part 4. Isn't it surprising to you that most people understand so little about why people act as they do, even though they are surrounded by people all their lives? Most people are not trained observers. One important purpose of this book is to help you train yourself to observe, develop deep insight into human action. You will want to ask yourself questions like, why is John so successful and Tom just getting by? Why do some people have many friends and other people have only few friends? Why will people gladly accept what one person tells them but ignore another person who tells them the same thing? Once trained, you will learn valuable lessons just through the very simple process of observing. Here are 2 special suggestions to help you make yourself a trained observer. Select for special study most successful and most unsuccessful person you know. Then as the book unfolds, observe how closely your successful friend adheres to the success principles. Notice also how studying the 2 extremes will help you see the unmistakable wisdom of following truths outlined in the book. Each contact you make with another person gives you a chance to see success development principles at work. Your objective is to make successful action habitual. The more we practice, the sooner it becomes second nature to act in a desired way. Most of us have friends who grow things for a hobby. We all heard them say something like, "It's exciting to watch those plants grow. Just look how they respond to plant food and water. See how much bigger they are today than they were last week." To be sure, it is thrilling to watch what can happen when you cooperate carefully with nature, but it is not 1/10 as fascinating as watching yourself respond to your own carefully administered thought management program. It's fun to feel yourself growing more confident, more effective, more successful day by day, month by month. Nothing, absolutely nothing in this life gives you more satisfaction than knowing you are on the road to success and achievement. And nothing stands up as a bigger challenge than making the most of yourself. Now let's start chapter 2. Cure yourself of executives, the failure diseases. People as you think yourself to success. This is what study people. You will study people very carefully to discover, then apply success rewarding principles to your life. And you want to begin right away. Go deep into your study of people and you will discover unsuccessful people suffer a mind deadening thought disease. We call the diseases executives. Every failure has the disease in its advanced form. The most average persons have at least a mild case of it. You will discover that executives explain the difference between person who going places and fellow who are barely holding his own. You will find that the more successful the individual, the less inclined he is to make excuses. But the fellow, I repeat the line again, the more successful the individual, the less inclined he is to make excuses. But the fellow who has gone nowhere and has no plans for getting anywhere always has a book full of reasons to explain why. Persons with mediocre accomplishments are quick to explain why they have not, why they don't, why they can't, why they are not. Study the lives of successful people and you will discover this. All the excuses made by a mediocre fellow are not made by a successful person. I have never met nor heard of highly successful business executive, military officer, salesman, professional person, or leader in any field who could not have found one or more major excuses to hide behind. Roosevelt could have hidden behind his lifeless legs. Truman could have used no college education. Kennedy could have said, "I am too young to be president." Johnson and Eisenhower could have ducked behind heart attacks. Like any disease, executives get worse if isn't treated properly. A victim of this thought disease goes through this mental process. I am not doing as well as I should. What I can use an alibi that will help me save face. Let's see: poor health, lack of education, too old, too young, bad luck, personal misfortune, the way my family brought me up. Once the victim of this failure disease has selected a good excuse, he sticks with it. Then he relies on the excuse to explain to himself and another why he is not going forward. And each time victim makes the excuse becomes embedded deeper within the subconscious. Thoughts, positive and negative, grow stronger when fertilized with constant repetition. At first, victim of executives knows his alibi is more or less a lie. But the more frequent he repeats it, the more convinced he becomes that it is completely true, that the alibi is real reason for his not being success he should be. Procedure 1. Then into individual program of thinking yourself success must be vaccinated yourself against executives, the disease of failure. The four most common forms of executives. Executives appears in a wide variety of forms, but the worst types of the disease are health executives, intelligence executives, age executives, luck executives. Now let's see just how we can protect ourselves from these four common ailments. But my health is not good. Health executives ranges all the way from the chronic, I don't feel good, to the more specific, I've got such and such wrong with me. Bad health is in 1,000 different forms is used as excuse for failing to do what person wants to do, failing to accept greater responsibilities, failing to make more money, failing to achieve success. Millions and millions of people suffer from health executives, but it is in most cases a legitimate excuses. Are they? Think for the moment of all the highly successful people you know who could, but who don't use health as an excuse. My physician, surgeon friends tell me that perfect specimen of adult life is non-existent. There is something physically wrong with everybody. Many surrender in whole or in part of health executives, but success thinking people do not. Two experiences happened to me in one afternoon that illustrate the correct and incorrect attitude towards health. I had just finished a talk in Cleveland. Afterwards, one fellow about 30 asked to speak to me privately for a few minutes. He complimented on the meeting, but then said, "I'm afraid your ideas can't do me much good. You see," he continued, "I've got a bad hurt. I've got hold myself a check." He went on to explain that he'd seen 4 doctors, but they could not find his trouble. He asked me what I would suggest he do. Well, I said, I know nothing about hurt, but as one layman to another, here are 3 things I do. First, visit the finest hurt specialist I could find accepted diagnosis as final. You've already checked with 4 doctors and more. None of them had found anything peculiar with your hurt. Let the 5th doctor be your final check. It may be very well be you get perfectly sound hurt. But if you keep worrying about it, eventually you may have very serious hurt ailment. Looking and looking and looking for illness often actually produces illness. Okay, thank you so much guys. Let's stop this 5 pages. We will read again the 5 pages in next part. Thank you so much.